Okay guys, I'm out here in the woods today playing around, and I recently watched a video by Historical Trekking, and that's the guy's name or YouTube name, and he does a lot of historical stuff from like the 1700s and or what you want to call the 18th century, whatever. And one of the things I watched one of his videos today, and one of the things he was talking about was Flint Steel Fires and how they didn't have charcloth back then, and that didn't come around till later, I believe he said. Now, I'm not an expert in this stuff, but one of the other things he was talking about, he doesn't carry things like jute cord. He looks for natural tinder. Now, his natural tinder and my natural tinder are going to be completely different because he's on a different continent. But this is one of my favorite natural tinders as far as replacing jute, and this is black locust bark. Now this stuff's a little bit damp. I need to dry it. I need to get it out in the sun and dry it, but it's a great tinder bundle. You just shred it up and it comes off in strips. Now I've been out here looking around. There's a log those two logs right there are both black locust. That log right there is black locust, and I stripped some of the bark off that, and it's a little too far gone as far as the decay process. You want it a little bit more green. It's in these woods, it's not hard to find. You just got to keep your eyes open. But this is some of it I just found, and so I'm not going to use this today for my tinder because I've got jute with me, but it's going to go in my tinder bag, which is this guy here, and that's what I keep my flint and steel kit in. And by the way, that's the flint or the steel that I made myself at the meet out of a garage door spring. And that's what I did with the forging. And it's not perfect, but it works, and it's a good little. It's kind of cool knowing that you're making it with a piece of steel that you made yourself and a piece of flint you found in the creek on yourself by yourself. And natural tinder, that makes it even better. But one of the things in the future, from now on, I'm going to start trying to find is a good replacement for charcloth from plant materials in my area. Now I know cattails are a great one, but I don't have any cattails around. You can char natural materials, but the way historical trekking was talking was, even when they came up with charcloth, they didn't char it in the little tin with the hole in it like we do today. They charred it by poking a hole, sticking it on a stick and setting it in front of the fire, and you don't get the nice even pieces like you do nowadays. You get like some's burnt to a crisp, some's perfect, and some's not done at all. And he said another problem you have is when you go to do that, sometimes some of the pieces catch on fire and you got other problems. And so my next trip out, I didn't have anything with me now to try that, but my next trip out, I'm going to try making charcloth in that way, while continuing searching for a plant material out here that will substitute for charcloth. Preferably something I don't have to char, because that's, I want to go back to the old school stuff. Now I'm still carrying modern stuff, but it is kind of fun to go back and look at what our people from way back did. You want to call them ancestors, whatever. But today I'm going to start my fire with a piece of charcloth, some jute, my homemade fire steel, and I've got a little tin with some stuff in it to make more charcloth. Now I'm not saying charcloth is bad. I'm continuing to use it because it's a very easy way to do flint steel fire. I'm just trying to find natural replacements for fun, so I know that they're here, and if I need to, I can access them. Doesn't mean go out and harvest every little piece of whatever you can get. Just means I've been able to identify it so you know what you can get if you need it. So anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get my fire lay and everything set up, and I'm going to go ahead and video starting a fire with flint and steel. So I'll be back with you here shortly. Alright guys, so when you're making a flint and steel fire, you get your tinder bundle to go. It doesn't last very long, so you need something to go on top of that that'll help catch the rest of the wood. So the next step after your tinder bundle is shavings, and that's a natural material, but I started doing them with my knife, and I've been playing with these tomahawks, and I've got another one on the way, but I can figure out my camera angle. This is a cold steel trail hawk. I modded a little bit, colored the handle, sanded the head, sharpened it, all that kind of stuff. But one of the ideal things is that the head can come off separate from the handle. So I thought I would just try to play around and see what I could do as far as shavings with just the head of the hawk, and see what we can get here. Might need to do a little bit more sharpening with it. I'm getting some. It's working. It's a lot different than trying to do this with a knife, because you're used to going like this and you got to get the angle of the head right, but it is working. I mean, I'm getting some decent curls there. Just takes a little. I'm getting ready to start my fire, and like I said, I'm not going to use that material when I have this stuff with me. This is jute all frayed apart, and I just keep fraying it until I get it nice and soft and fluffy and all that. And then I've got, when I go to get it lit, I've got shavings, probably nowhere near enough, but I have shavings, which I can always run over and grab the pine needles too if I need them. Then I have some real fine cut stuff that I'm going to use to put on top of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my shavings in here. I'm going to try to get my, when I go to put my stuff in, I'll try to put it kind of up underneath. I should have about 4 or 5 times the amount of shavings I've got. And before I go to light, I'll take some of the smaller stuff and I'll line it up along here, kind of giving me a start. And hopefully this will start the shavings. This shavings will start the pencil thick stuff, and we'll go up from there. And then I just, once I get it lit, I just got to keep air to it and keep adding fuel. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and light my char cloth. I got my piece of chert here, piece of char cloth. Like I said, I'm always going to have my eyes open from now on for a replacement char cloth, a natural material. One of these days I might get down to the river and see if I can't find me some cattails, maybe work with those, something like that. But in the meantime, I'm going to use char cloth. So got one. You see it there? See it there burning, so I'm going to take and wad that. Just take it down inside this. Take this over to my bundle here. Like I said, I probably should have about 4 or 5 times the amount of kindling I got. go ahead and let that breathe. But that is a Flint Steel Fire. You can see it's going. And now as soon as it gets going, I've got some stuff because I'm running low on charcloth. I'm going to make some more charcloth in this fire. But as you saw, if you go with the way I've been going, you have to have charcloth in order to make the fire to make more charcloth. So that's why it would be handy to have a natural tinder to substitute for charcloth. We've already got the black locust bark to substitute for sisal rope or jute twine, whatever. But you know, it doesn't do me any good if I don't have something to take the spark. So chances are I'll always have you know, charcloth, but you know, it's always that saying, you know, kind of like you're out there or whatever, like you're out in the woods or whatever, and you just don't have a way of getting anything. If I was stuck out here, I would have no way of lighting a fire if I didn't have charcloth. So that's why it's kind of nice to know your natural replacements and things like that. Right now I'm just trying to keep adding to the fire, but yet leave some breathing room in between. This black locust bark, the outer bark, is great for getting a fire going. It burns well, but you got to have your earlier prep done because this stuff is just massively thick bark. But it does burn well. So, alright guys, that fire's pretty well going. Like I said, when I'm building this, I just, you know, make sure I'm leaving enough room in between pieces of wood. Alright guys, the fire's going. What I got here was at the meet, one of the guys that was there left a whole, like 40 of these little snooze tins. I punched a really small hole in it and have a bunch of pairs of jeans at home that are not wearable anymore. They're ripped completely to pieces beyond what this is. So I took them and cut them up into chunks, shoved them in here, no particular order, and we're going to try to make some charcloth. Like I said, it's got a teeny tiny hole because if you make the hole too big, it's not going to work. And now, what I'm going to do is turn you, if it'll let me. You can see here, I put the snooze can right in here on a brick. I want it on the brick as opposed to like straight down in the fire. You can do it both ways, but this way I can get control of it easier. If flames start shooting out of it, I can get it with a stick or something. But it's going to be hot enough, it should be hot enough to get it to char. So that's how I'm going to make it. And I'm watching the hole because I want a little tiny plume of white smoke to come out. And once that white smoke stops, I bring it out. But a lot of times you won't get that smoke. It just doesn't happen. So occasionally you want to pull it out, let it cool, check it, pull it out, let it cool, check it, whatever. And that's how you go about it. So alright, y'all. Getting the tin out of the fire again. It's cooled down. Much better. Still a few pieces that are kind of not done yet, but for the most part, most of them are.